Good morning. We completed our agriculture lesson. In previous class, we discussed about technological as well as institutional reforms which were introduced in Indian agriculture from 1952 till the date. So in 1950s, Jamindari system was abolished, Land Ceiling Act was passed, excess land was taken by the government to redistribute to the poor people, as well as irrigation projects were initiated as a part of first 5-year plan, and then Kisan credit cards were issued to the farmers to get free loans from the banks at reasonable interest rates, and other reforms that what we discussed in 1990s. A cooperative society system was also initiated by the union government in agriculture. Minimum support price was declared by the central government to procure food grains by paying at least minimum support price to the farmers. So these are all the institutional as well as technological reforms introduced in agriculture, green revolution, technology and all. And we already discussed about Bhudan as well as Gramdan, which was initiated by Vinoba Bhave. And we discussed about even global impact on Indian agriculture. How Indian agriculture, which is changing some period to a period, and our WTO agreements, and then subsidies to the agriculture and all that what we discussed. I hope you all learned the agriculture lesson. You please get ready for slip test which will be on a lesson agriculture. So we have to start the new lessons. New lesson. I decided to start a lesson from history because in history altogether 5 lessons are there. Out of 5, first lesson it is mandatory, nationalism in Europe. Second lesson, nationalism in India, already which is completed in our class. Already that lesson is completed. And third lesson, the making of global world. And fourth one is the age of industrialization, the print culture. Next lesson is print culture. So I want first 2 lessons are mandatory, and 3 out of 3 and 4 lessons we can select one lesson, another one is choice. So that's why I decided to teach the 4th lesson of our history textbook, that is the age of industrialization. This lesson explains about how industrialization, which was started in India, which was started in England, and then how industrialization which is started in India, and its process is explained in this lesson. And come to the lesson. Generally for each and every lesson, it requires some motivation to start the topic. But here in textbook itself, that motivation part is given. So let's start the lesson with the help of the pictures which are already given in our textbook. You see once. This is the textual picture lesson. Our lesson start with textual picture. You see once the age of industrialization. So notice the picture once. Yeah. Picture. What is written on the picture? What is the written on the picture? Dawn of the century. Dawn of the century. Okay. Dawn of the century. Here, dawn means the period before sunrise. Here, dawn of the century means it is simply a period before industrial revolution. So what is the industrial revolution? So the revolutionary change that took place in manufacturing is known as industrial revolution. This industrial revolution first started in England and later it spread to other European countries and then it spread to other parts of the world. So here dawn of the century is nothing but before the early period before industrial revolution. So here what you notice on the picture, here like a woman, like a angel, isn't it? Here description is clearly explained. Dawn of the century, published by E.T. Powell Music Company, England in 1900. So it is a magazine picture, the picture on a magazine. What is that magazine? Music Company, E.T. Powell. It is published by E.T. Powell Music Company. So, and moreover, you know that the questions will be given in the annual examination based on pictures. That is why you must be thorough over the picture, each and every picture. You have to learn the picture also. So here this picture tells about, it is a cover page announcing the dawn of the century. As you can see from the illustration, at the center of the picture is a goddess like figure, isn't it? That picture is goddess like a figure. Yeah, it is there. And then description, see the description once. The angel of progress, she indicates the angel of progress and bearing the flag of the new century. See the flag once. She bear the flag in the left hand. She bear the flag on left hand with the new century. It indicates the new century. And then she is gently perched on a wheel with wings symbolizing time. See, she is on a wheel. It indicates an wheel. It indicates the time. Her flight is taking her into the future. Her flight, see, her picture is like a flight. So her flight is taking her into the future. Floating about behind her are the sign of progress. That is like railway, camera, machines, printing press and factory. These are all which you can notice here. See once the background, machine, camera, railways, printing press. So these are all which you can notice in the picture itself. So this indicates this is the period before development, that means before the industrial revolution, or that what we can understand that before the industrial revolution, this is the period explains, tells about this picture. This picture there, a figure like angel, she carried a flag, that is a century, and then her floating, as well as she is on the wheel which indicates the time period, and her floating which indicates into the future, as well as an background which explains the progress, that means railway, camera, these are all. So by that which we can understand that this is the early stage of industrialization period. And then in the next page, one more picture is given. See once, later we come to the explanation part and all. This is the picture. So here this picture is divided into two parts. This picture is divided into two parts. One is about the top one is Aladdin and his magic lamp. The second one is about a mechanic, modern mechanic. So come to the description of this lesson, this image that what we saw. See once, the glorification of the machines and technology is even more marked in a picture which appeared on the page of a trade magazine over some 100 years ago. It shows two magazines. The one at the top is Aladdin from the Orient. So what is the meaning of Orient? The countries to the east of Mediterranean Sea, usually referring to Asia. The term arises out of Western viewpoint that sees this region as a pre-modern, traditional and mysterious. So they described that area is Orient. That means Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq region was described as a Orient by the English people. So Aladdin and his magic lamp. I think so. We all learnt in the tales in English. You may learnt about Aladdin and his magic lamps. What he did with his magic lamp. So whenever he rubbed the lamp, genie comes out from the lamp, and he whatever he requests, the genie will help him or will do the satisfy the desires of Aladdin and all. So he did the magic with the help of a magic lamp. Aladdin did the magic with the help of a magic lamp. So here the author wanted to explain that, so bottom the modern mechanic, so how Aladdin created some high-rise buildings or whatever he want. In the same way, in the western part, that means European countries, so which was led to modernization due to technology. So with the help of machines, they constructed buildings, roads, railways, as well as different means of transport was developed. These are all indicates the technological development. So first picture, within this picture, top one explains about Aladdin and his magic lamp. The same way, the second picture explains about the development which is achieved in Western countries with the help of technology. So these images offers us a triumphant account of the modern world. Within this account, the modern world is associated with rapid technological change and innovations, machines and factories, railways and steamships. So the history of industrialization thus becomes simply a story of development, and modern age appears as a wonderful time of technological progress. So this lesson throw a light on the industrial development, or we can say in other way, the history of industrial development is nicely explained in our lesson. Come to this lesson is moreover it is focused over the industrial development, technological development, as well as different innovations, how which changed the world or the course of the world over a period of time. and then how this technology spread from country to country and all. And moreover, this lesson is mostly focused on industrial development in Britain, because it is the first industrialized country in the world. So that's why only we say that England was the workshop of the world. That means the more industrial production which was started in England, most inventions were also witnessed in England. Later only this technology was spread from England to other parts of Europe and then to other parts of the world. So that's why this lesson is focused on industrial development in England, of course, and then it explained about India. What were the changes that took place in India? So this is about brief introduction and all. Come to the first one. Before the industrial revolution, generally whenever you take the lesson and all, it always talk about industrial revolution, I mean industrialization and all. So we often talk about industrialization, so the growth of factories, it is associated with the growth of factories. And when we talk of industrial production, we refer to a factory production. When we talk of industrial workers, means factory workers. Here, histories of industrialization very often begin with the setting up of first factories. That means when we talk about industrialization, generally we used to talk about factory production, we used to talk about factories as well as workers who are working in factories. But this lesson focused on the preconditions before industrial revolution in England. So without favorable factors in a particular area, industrial development is not at all possible. So what were the favorable conditions which were existed in England before industrial revolution? That means before factories production and all. So which was focused in this lesson. So there is a problem with such ideas, means industrialization, we always talk about only factory production as well as workers, means workers who are working in factories. So even before factories began to dot the landscape in England and Europe, there was large scale industrial production for an international market. This was not based on factories. That means before starting factories only in England, goods were produced in England with the help of small machines and tools in scattered way, moreover in small workshops. This goods was exported to other parts of the world. So now that period, many historians now referred to this phase of industrialization as proto-industrialization. What the historians refer that phase is known as proto-industrialization. So what is the meaning of a proto? It's nothing but indicating the first or earlier from the something. That means here proto-industrialization is nothing but the time period before industrialization. So that means until recent times, the history of industrialization is nothing but when are the factories started, then we consider that that is the history of industrialization. But that idea is somehow changed in recent times by the industrialist. So recently industrialist named this period as a proto-industrialization period. Proto-industrialization period. That means it is nothing but the period before industrial revolution is known as a proto-industrialization period. So come to the 17th and 18th centuries. Merchants from towns in Europe began moving to the countryside, supplying money to peasants and artisans, persuading them to produce for an international market. What is countryside? What is the meaning of countryside? Countryside is nothing but rural areas. Countryside side indicates rural areas. Here what they are doing in 17th and 18th century, merchants from towns in Europe began moving to countryside, and then what they are doing? Supplying money to peasants and artisans, persuading them to produce for an international market. Why these people move from towns to countryside to give money, supply money to the peasants and artisans to produce goods for international markets? Why don't they produce goods in urban areas itself? That what? Here, how the demand for goods increased in England. We all know that with the expansion of world trade and acquisition of colonies in different parts of the world, the demand for goods began growing in European countries. You all know that the colonization process. Best example, in 1600, East India Company came to our country as a traders. Slowly, they identified our weakness among our native Rajas, and then they take sides on our native Rajas. Slowly, they started to occupy our kingdoms. Finally, Britishers became the rulers of our country. So, India became the colony of British. In this way, different parts of the world come under the control of Europeans as a part of colonizations. When European countries became colonial masters against different countries, naturally they capture the market. So, to supply goods to the market of different countries, they wanted to produce goods in their motherland to export to the international market. Here, that's why traders wanted to produce more in their countries, especially in England. But they can increase the production in urban areas, na? But here the problem was there. In urban areas, most of the trade was under the control of trade guilds. Trade was under the control of trade guilds. So that is why merchants could not expand production within towns. This was because here urban crafts and trade guilds were powerful. So what is a trade guilds? Trade guilds are nothing but association of producers. Association of producers. That means iron manufacturers association or aluminium producers association. These are all like examples for how they have association. What they did with these trade guilds, most of the trade was controlled by these trade guilds. So these trade guilds appoint craft people and they give training to these people and they produce the goods. And these trade guilds maintained control over production, regulated the competition and price. That means fixation of price is also in the hands of trade guilds, and restricted the entry of new people into the trade. Here trade guilds did not allow new people to enter into the production. So here that's why the merchants wanted to increase the production, but trade guilds were not ready to increase the production. This was the exact problem faced by traders in England. That's why these people moved to countryside. And moreover, these trade guilds get permissions from rulers or the right to produce some of the goods. That means they have monopoly right. I think you know about monopoly. Monopoly is nothing but one and only the producer. So they did not allow others to produce the goods. These are all the practical difficulties faced by the merchants to increase production in towns, urban areas. That is why these merchants decided to move towards countryside, that means rural areas, and they used to give some sort of advances to the artisans and small farmers to produce goods for international market. Is it clear why the merchants moved from towns to countryside in 17th and 18th centuries? Because of trade guilds. Most of the production in urban areas were under the control of trade guilds. So that's why traders were not allowed to increase the production in urban areas, or they found difficulties to increase the production in urban areas because trade guilds, that means production was completely controlled by trade guilds, and trade guilds were powerful at the time. And moreover, these people got permission from rulers, means like kings. By that, these traders had monopoly over production, and they only determine the price. So that's why traders, merchants found difficult to increase the production in urban areas. There was no such kind of restrictions in rural areas. That is why in England, merchants moved from urban to rural areas, countryside, to increase their production. So, and then come to the conditions in rural areas. In the countryside, poor peasants and artisans began working for merchants. Here, these people were ready to work for merchants. Why? In last year also we learnt that in England, open fields were disappearing and commons were being enclosed. So that means in England, before 17th century, there were some common lands. Means everyone is allowed to utilize that common land to get vegetables, to get fodder to their animals. That's why even though small farmers, they may use some of the common land for their sustenance. So when our common lands were disappeared or enclosed, that what we call it as a enclosure movement. Enclosure is nothing but fencing. That means it was given to the landlords. So landlords occupied these common lands in England, which created some sort of troubles to the poor people. Now poor people can't depend only the small plots which they have. So whatever the income which comes from their small plots was not sufficient for their survival. At this time, these merchants moved from urban to countryside, and they were ready to give advances to the artisans or small farmers. So that is why small farmers were eagerly waited to take advances. So these are all the conditions also helped the traders to get manpower in rural areas. So these people, especially small farmers, many had only small plots of land which could not provide work for all the members of the household. So when merchants came around and offered advances to produce goods for them, peasant households eagerly agreed. By working for the merchants, These people could remain the countryside and continue to cultivate their small plots. That means they are working in their home area. On one hand, they are cultivating their small plants, and on another hand, they are doing some sort of some process of work which is assigned by the merchants who came from towns. Income from proto industrialization production supplemented their shrinking income from cultivation. So, already we discussed small farmers lost the common lands. Common lands were disappeared with simply enclosure movement and all. So, that's why this people income was very less, which was not sufficient to feed their family members. At that juncture, here traders started to provide work to the artisans as well as small farmers. So, small farmers agreed to do the work for merchants. It also allowed them a fuller use of their family labor resources. That means most of the work is done by their family members itself. So, in this way, artisans as well as small farmers got employment opportunity as well as whatever the income they earned by producing something for the merchant will supplement their family income. So that's why it is useful for both merchants as well as small farmers or artisans in countryside. Within this system, a close relationship developed between the town and the countryside. In what way? Merchants were based in towns, but the work was done mostly in the countryside. We learned clearly why merchants turned their attention towards countryside because in urban areas most of the trade was under the control of trade guilds. So merchants found difficulties to increase production in towns. That is why these people moved to countryside and then they place orders to the artisans and small farmers. So a merchant, suppose one example is given, a merchant clothier in England purchased wool from a wool stapler. Wool stapler. Who is a stapler? A person who staples or sorts according sorts wool according to its fiber. Here, who is a stapler? A person who staples or sorts wool according to its fiber or quality. So, here a merchant, a clothier in England purchased wool from a wool stapler and then carried it to the spinners. After purchasing wool from stapler, it is carried to a spinner for spinning purpose. The yarn or thread, making of a thread that was spun was taken in the subsequent stages of production to weavers and then simply fullers and then to dyers. This is the process. Who are the fullers? A person who fulls, that is gathering of cloth by pleating, is known as fullers. So here different stages. First stage, what a merchant clothier in England is doing, he purchased wool from a wool stapler and then to the spinner. Later, subsequent stage, it given to fullers and then it given to dyers. Here dyers means who engage dyeing work, that means painting work. So the finishing work was done in London. The finishing work was done in London before export merchant sold the cloth in international market. So London in fact came to be known as a finishing center. Here it became a finishing center. So is it clear? Here merchants are giving work to the artisans and small farmers. That too work is divided under different stages. So each stage is work done by some people, and then that will be carried to another workshop by the merchant. That means work is done at different stages in villages. That what example is explained here. So a merchant clothier in England purchased wool from a wool stapler, and then it is carried to the spinners for making of thread, and in next subsequent stages of production to weavers, it is handed it over to fullers for fulling purpose, and then to dyers, that means for painting purpose. And that but finishing work was done in London. Finishing work means is nothing but packing the remaining things. It was done in London, and it was exported from London to other parts of the world. So in this way, most of the goods were produced in countryside, that too in different stages. It was divided in under different stages. So come to how it was spread. This proto industrialization system was thus part of network of commercial exchanges. It was controlled by merchants, and the goods were produced by a vast number of producers working within their family farms, not in factories. That means goods were producing at different levels, mostly at home itself. So the members within a family offer their labor to produce the goods, and that to different stages. That what we learnt about the example of making a cloth. At each stage of production, 20 to 25 workers were employed by each merchant. So this meant that each clothier was controlling hundreds of workers. So that means he has to buy wool from stapler at one stage, and it is carried to the spinners. There some people are working for that spinning purpose, and then he has to approach fullers to do the fulling work, and later it will handed it over to the dyers, that means for dyeing or painting purpose, and then the final work will be done at London before exporting to the international market. So at each stage, some 20 to 25 members of people who work for that particular purpose. Especially these are all the people who are a family members, or they may engage few laborers for that purpose. So it is useful in two ways. The first one is it helped to increase the income of artisans as well as small farmers. For merchants, it was easy to produce goods in rural areas, in countryside, because these people found difficulty to increase the production in urban areas. That's why these people approach rural areas. So how the factories started and all, we will learn in the next class. Let's recapitulate today's lesson briefly once before closing the today's session. Today we learnt about the industrialization period, the age of industrialization. Especially this industrialization lesson starts with the two pictures. This is the first picture. It was published in 1900 by E.T. Powell, a music company. It is a cover page of a music company which was published by E.T. Powell in 1900. So this head was dawn of the century. That means the early stage before industrialization. So she was like an angel float on the wheel, indicates the time, as well as her flight indicates moving into the future, and background scenario explains about development. That means which indicates machines, railways, photograph, printing press, and all, which indicates the beginning. And the next image also we already learnt, which consists of two parts. At top, Aladdin, how he created wonders with the help of a magic lamp. Yeah, Aladdin and his magic lamp, we know it. And then the bottom of that second image explains about a modern mechanic, which indicates the technology, how it changed the life of the people during that time. So Aladdin from Orient here, how he created magics or wonders with the help of magic lamp. The second again, it explains about how it creates wonders and all. These two pictures explains about how the change that took place. Here first, the top one explains about Aladdin and his magic lamp. In the same way, another magic was done in the form of raised buildings, bridges, railways, roadways, and sophisticated goods which was produced with the help of machines. This is all done, this magic was done with the help of technology. That what it explains, or we can understand from this picture. And come to the lesson before industrialization. There we learned about general idea about industrialization is nothing but the history of industrialization means the factory production. That means workers who engaged in factories. But this lesson focus about the early stage before industrial revolution or industrialization or factory production. So before factories began in England or Europe, the large scale industrial production that was done for international market. This was not based on factories. Many historians now refer to this phase of industrialization as a proto-industrialization period. Proto-industrialization period is nothing but the period before industrialization. Industrialization, we know, produce the goods with the help of machines and tools in factories. We call it as a industrialization. So the period which tells before the age of industrialization, that what we call it as a proto-industrialization by the historians. And we learnt about in 17th and 18th century merchants who moved from towns to the countryside. Why? Already we learnt. So in urban areas, so due to colonization, Europeans got orders for the supply of goods to different parts of the world. So to export goods from one country to other country, the simple thing is they have to increase the production and then only they can export to other countries. To increase the production in urban areas or towns or cities, it was difficult to increase the production because the trade in towns were controlled by trade guilds in towns. Trade guilds were the associations of producers. These people simply engage craft persons and they give skill training to these people, and these people sometimes get monopoly rights from the rulers. So that's why it was not easy for the entry of new traders to produce something. Sorry. So that's why traders found difficulties to increase the production in urban areas. That's why these people moved from towns to countryside. In countryside also favorable conditions were there during the time, because in countryside common lands were disappeared, especially in England. Earlier small farmers, artisans and all depend on common lands for to get some vegetables as well as straw, fodder to their animals, as well as these people get hay, berries, firewood. These are all they gathered from common lands. Whenever these common lands were disappeared, these people found difficulties for their survival in rural areas. At the same time, the traders approach these small farmers and artisans, and they give some advances to produce the goods. So that's why these people accepted or take advances in eagerly to produce the goods. But these goods were produced with the help of only machines and tools, not in a factory production. So that what we learnt about one example also, like how a clothier in England uh, produce the goods. That means stapler, spinners, fullers, dyers. At different stages, each stage of the work is done in a small workshop, consists of 20 to 25 members, most of their family members. They produce the work. That in this way, the production was scattered in countryside at different stages, but final finishing work was done at London to export to the international market. Uh, this is how the goods were produced before industrialization. That period, what we call it as a proto-industrialization period. Okay. Simply in this lesson also you can learn about only what is proto-industrialization period and what were the conditions in proto-industrialization period. That is one question. And what are trade guilds and what was its role in proto-industrialization period. And then next one, how this proto-industrialization period helps to supplement their incomes to the artisans and small farmers who were lived in countryside. That's it. Some 3 4 small questions. Proto-industrialization is somehow big question essay. Remaining all trade guilds 3 marks question, as well as suppose a clothier and all. You can take 1 3 marks question and all. So you start writing your classwork and better complete your learning process before next class. Okay, thank you.